Hello Internet, my name is Persephone and welcome to my channel. Player Housing Early Access is 2 days away, and in preparation for that, yesterday I uploaded the final walkthrough video of my beta builds. I don't expect myself to build any more complete builds between now and the release of Player Housing, but in that video I had a sunken conversation pit style living room. And a few people have asked me how I made that. So instead of showing the footage of me making the house start to finish, I do have that footage, but it's kind of long. I thought, why not just use my empty Alliance house and show you the build? So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to make it as quick as possible. We're going to zoom through this. I do have an empty house, so we're going to start by picking a floor plan. There's a few options you can do. I personally like the stairwell room as a sunken living room pit, but either way, you're not going to want to do it as a main room. It needs to be a room that's like an offshoot or a side. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add a T-shaped room. That's what I did in my original build. And then instead of a stairwell room, we're going to do a small octagon. I think we're going to build the pit off of that. What we can also do now is, because we use the T-shaped room, is if we wanted to, we can add more onto the house this way. You can do it from the octagon room, but I wouldn't, just because the way to do this build requires a lot of clipping through walls. So we're going to want to go to structural and find some platforms. I don't love the way some of these look. We're gonna go ahead and use the Belemeth ones. So I'm gonna go ahead and place just like 6 or 7 of these. And then what we're gonna do is edit them all at once. We're gonna crank them up to 200%, because the idea of the sunken living room is you want to go up and then down. So we're using the platforms as like a false floor so that we have something to go up to. And then we'll come down into the actual sunken pit. So now that we've edited those, we're going to go ahead and place them. The first one that's important is the one that goes at the door. So let's get these away from the door one so I can edit it. Just click and slide these away. There we go. So this is the door. We need to make sure we pair it up as smoothly as possible with the opening, because we're gonna have to build our own stairs into the room. We want to kind of like line it up like this. You can pull it a little bit forward depending on how much space you want to use. You know what? We might do that. Make it like a threshold situation. You do have to also decide if you want your pit centered or not. In the smaller rooms, I think centered makes the most sense. In larger rooms, like the staircase room, I think going into like a corner or one side of the room is a better situation. So we're going to try to center this as much as possible. We do have the issue that this room, these platforms at this size, are fairly large. We can take them down a little bit. I actually might. Let's actually adjust these down to like maybe 175. That way we're still going up, but they're not taking up as much of the room. Just because we're using a smaller room here, I'm going to go ahead and take them down to 175. 175. If I can. 175 and then 175. That way we can make more pit space, because the issue is no matter where you put everything is based on where you put this first platform. So we want to make sure it doesn't stick too far out into the room. That way we have space to put the pit in the middle. We will need more platforms because of that, but that's okay. I'm just laughing because I pulled that into the floor. All right, let's go up here. It doesn't have to like totally line up. I just want it to look intentional. This is good. I kind of want to see if I can, did I push that one down too much. Yeah. Basically, we want to make sure the seams of the room aren't visible, but it's not that big a deal. Okay. One. And then we can use these two side ones to essentially make it as large as possible, or as large as we want. Because right now it would be the size of one of these platforms, right? We're going to make it a platform size. We're going to need two more of these. So we got this one and this one. I actually think that might be the perfect size. The size of the platform. Just leave it in the center. You can also make different shapes. The only thing I can't do is a round one right now because we don't have inverted circles. We only have the half circle that goes out and not one that's like a curve that goes in. So we're kind of stuck with this. Also, I just realized the platform's got placed in a different direction. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and pull this over here. We want all the grain to match up because that'll make it look cohesive. It needs to all be going the same direction. All right. And let's flip this. There. All right, so we have our pit. So the idea is that we go up. We have a room around it. We can do all kinds of stuff. Maybe put a fireplace in the corner. And then we have our sitting pit. So to move on to the next step, we need beams. So we'll go ahead and use the beams that match it and just kind of place them around the pit. 2. There. You don't need to leave space for a stairs. For what you would do instead is like use the sitting area as stairs, like right, like they become stairs. The only thing I don't like about that is the fact that you have to leave a space uncovered. So we're gonna go ahead and push the beams around. I might lower them a little bit so that there's more room for it to look comfortable. You know what I mean? So we're just gonna cover the beams a little bit like this. They're not gonna look perfect underneath because the beams bow. They all have a bow to them, as you might be able to tell. So, you know, we are gonna go ahead and not cover. I don't think we are going to cover or leave a space for stairs. I think we're just going to go ahead and go for it. Okay. Maybe take it down just a little bit more. The reason I'm doing this is it still needs to look sunken after you pull the pillows out. Like it still needs to look like there's space behind you to rest your back. So obviously for larger classes, you're gonna have to accommodate them, or races I should say, you're gonna have to accommodate them more. Like this pit probably wouldn't work for a Tauren. All right. So now that we have that, our next step is to make the stairs up to the room, because the idea is you go up and then come back down. But if you leave it like this, that's kind of awkward. So we're going to go ahead and grab 2 more beams and adjust these this way. So we're going to go in and down a little bit. In and then down farther. And now we have stairs. I don't know if they're totally center, but they're pretty center. So we'll just pull them over just a little bit. There. So we have our stairs up, elevated room, pit down. So the next thing I do is I look for cushions. Normally I would dye these cushions, but they're coming in blue. So we can just do like a crisscross pattern, or we can use just the solid ones. You know, I think we'll just use the solid ones. So I just lined this with pillows. You can adjust the size to cover them more. I would suggest that, but because we're doing kind of a faster demonstration, I'm just going to go ahead and do one side like this. Because this is not a full build. This is just a demonstration. All right, and then we're actually going to do another line of them above. Because then we get to adjust them a little bit more. I don't know if I have the same amount of pillows. It doesn't quite matter. All right, so then we use the rotate tool and we click them one at a time and kind of just pull them forward. You don't want them to be exact. You want it to be a little bit off, a little bit, you know, a little bit goofy looking. Maybe tilt a couple of them. Just keep pulling them forward. With them being so close together, I might have to go like back and forth. Let's tilt this one a little bit. We don't want it to look exact, like I said. No perfect pairings. The ones in the corner, I tend to like to flip doubly. So we do something like this, maybe rotate like this. And then when we pull it into the corner, it kind of covers the sharpness of the corner. And you just kind of pull them around and fill the space in. So they're packed in here. I do think I need another pillow, actually. Let's do this. Essentially, you're turning this into a very long couch. If I had to choose, I would not be choosing the ones with the tassels because the tassels make the clipping a lot more obvious. But that's all right. It almost looks like they're tied together, like outdoor furniture. All right, we need one more. I'm going to place this right here. Pull it forward. Rotate it this way. Let's rotate it a little bit that way too. And pull it back. We might actually rotate it a little bit more this way. All right. So essentially you would do this, but like I said, I use bigger pillows so it's not as noticeable around the whole pit. You can dye them and change their colors and maybe do something like this. I should probably apply the color. I like the idea of them not matching, kind of just being whatever color you happen to click on it. We can do blue and then like bright colors, right? Like that. The next step is the stools. This is the important step to make the seat interactable. So we're gonna just place stools in front of where I want it interactable. I bought a lot of stools, but essentially I would do that around the pit to figure out where I'd want it. And then to see which direction the stools need to sit, I just back out and do that. You can actually do with this stool specifically, there's like a little arrow on the seat essentially with the wood grain. There's like a thinner line at the top and a thicker line in the back. The thinner line points to the direction the stool is going to face. So then I just clip them into the seat. You can adjust the size, but I don't find it totally necessary. I want it to be as close to the edge as possible. And then you just push it down. So for reference, if I back up, you can still kind of see it, but now I sit in it. If I were to adjust the size of the stool a little bit, you should be able to sit in it without it clipping like that. Let's make it down. Because I can hide it in a pillow instead of hiding it between the pillows. Hiding it in a pillow on the edge is really helpful. So let's see. Let's see if I can get it to not clip. Let's see. Are my legs still clipping? You can still kind of see it, but nope, my legs are no longer clipping. I am a little bit high on this stool, so I might take it down a little bit. But that's essentially how you make the pits. It's beams and platforms, and now I have a sunken living room in here. Like I said, you could adjust this and add more to the side room wise, or go up. I was a little worried about not using the stairwell room, that it would feel really cramped in here, but it's not so bad. You can throw, like I said, a fireplace on the side like this, warm up the room a little bit. You can do windows and make it feel like a 70s style by turning it into like an atrium situation. So you do like windows on the wall, and then build like a little cage for plants. You can adjust the windows to do this, but then you throw, like, say I did cactus in mine. So you throw a cactus by it, make it smaller, and then you can see the cactus through it, and it's like a light source and something cool to have near the pit. But yeah, that is my sunken living room conversation pit. That's how you build it. If you guys want to do one yourself and send it to me, I would love to see it. So please do. You can tag me in any social media posts, or send it personally in my Discord, anything like that. I would love to see it. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button. If you want to see more videos by me, make sure to subscribe. And don't forget to comment any questions, compliments, or concerns you may have down below.